Abraham, how can I assure myself that the dream life that I've created for myself, with everyone and everything in it, can and will last till the end of the lifetime of mine? Oh, let's contemplate that, because what this person is saying is, life is good for me. It's been trending well for me. I'm living right now the dream life that I have been trending toward. But then, in the middle of this paragraph, the trend changes. Meaning, she says, getting rid of the fears that something will go wrong because this all seems too good to be true. Humans, you do this thing where you wait for the other shoe to drop. It stems from some insecurity and from some unworthiness, and from, in your paragraph you wrote, old paradigm of thinking. Yeah, there is a human paradigm of thinking that says you are not worthy, and that things don't usually go right, and that you have to struggle and suffer and strive in order to even eke out some sort of a semblance of a happy life. And of course, that's a flawed premise. There's nothing about that that is not false. You are the creator of your own reality, and you attract as you trend. Things manifest the way they are pointed. And so, how can I assure myself that the dream life I have created for myself, with everyone and everything, will last to the end of my lifetime? Continue to trend that way. When you catch yourself in those bogus thoughts because of your observation, Esther turned on a news program the other day. And as she was watching it, as she listened just for a little bit, she wanted to know what was happening relative to something, so she was listening for that. There was so much trending in the direction of unwanted things. And then she remembered us describing television, and especially news media, years ago, maybe even the first few days of us flowing through her, back in 1985 and 86 and 87. And we were commenting that the well-being of your planet is so dominant. That is the trend that is trending. And that doesn't mean that there cannot be individuals who are not allowing the thriving trend. Doesn't mean that there are not those who could resist the well-being that is dominant. But we were wanting Esther and others to hear us when we say that the positive trend is far and away greater. It is exponentially huge. And the comparison between the well-being and the human deprivation of it is really staggering. And yet you wouldn't know that by watching any of the news that is being offered. And then just to get it into perspective, we explained that if you were really putting it into perspective, let's say there's a 24-hour news channel, let alone however many of them there are. Let's say there was just one, or you're focused on one, and it broadcasts 24 hours a day, and it does what it likes to do. It looks all around the world for things that it thinks you will be worried about and shows them to you, because your trend has shown that you're more likely to watch something that is troubling than something that is uplifting, because that's how you've been trending for a while. And then let's say that you've decided that you're going to watch for the whole 24 hours. And at some point during the day, while you're watching, there's a little zzz goes across the screen. Look, it looks like a little static on the screen. The picture shakes a little bit for a minute, and the sound goes zzz for a minute. And you say, what was that? And we would say, that was the comparative sum total of all the bad news in relationship to all the good news in this 24-hour cycle. But that isn't the way it is presented to you, because there are those who make those decisions that have decided that they're playing to those who trend negatively. You don't have to be one of them. But because that is a bit the way humanity trends, fortunately, you are more than your physical bodies. You are non-physical energy. And fortunately, the non-physical part of you doesn't trend negatively at all. And fortunately, the decisions about your planet and the decisions about creation and the well-being of your physical body and the way your cells abound. In other words, there is so much that is non-physical that is about you that you cannot, from the non-physical standpoint, do any negative trending. You can only do it from your physical point of view, and you can only pinch yourself off so long before you begin to feel some negative emotion. The trending is about well-being, you see. So we're leading up to a way to answer your question, because there's a lot of this going on. Many of you are writing about the things that are bothering you and the things that are happening in the world. And we want you to hear from us today in a way that maybe you have never heard it so clearly. You don't have to trend in the way some faction of your world is trending. It is a minuscule part of what's going on. But if you don't know it, if you are like Esther and thought you wanted to be informed about what was going on, let's see what's going on in the world. Why would you choose the format that is trending toward bad news in an exaggerated and extremely discriminating way? Esther sat after meditation, looking out of her big window here on the Abraham Hicks Publications property, across her swimming pool that is sparkling in the sunlight of this beautiful day. And to her surprise and delight, saw two squirrels in a big oak tree just on the other side of this pool, who were frolicking for their own pleasure in view of Esther, so it became her pleasure too. One squirrel in particular really looked like he was an acrobatic squirrel. Rocky the flying squirrel, Esther remembered from her childhood days. And this squirrel was not on the branch, which is solid, where he usually runs. He was way out onto the very thick, beautiful leaves, actually hanging from the leaves, dangling over the swimming pool. And Esther thought, I wonder if he's thinking about taking a swim. It looked like if he just let go, he would fall right into the pool. But he was only there for Esther's surprise and delight. He was teasing her with the expectation. He was inspired from source. He wasn't afraid, and he didn't frighten Esther. He was broadcasting from the point of view of non-physical. But your television news does not broadcast from the perspective of non-physical. It broadcasts from the trend of human mind. All right. Now, we've said enough about that, but this is the way we're answering your question. There is not a reason for you to, in the proverbial phrase of humans, to wait for the other shoe to drop. It's not like that. That implies that if you take too much good, more than your fair share, which is not possible, is not doled out like that, or if you are not worthy because of something that you've done or said or thought, which is not possible because it's not like that, then you are a human waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it's not like that. What manifests comes to you on the heels of your trending, period. There's not someone outside of you watching you, trying to hold you to some standard, and then deciding that you've had more than your fair share and enough. You want the goodness to last all of your lifetime. Well, why wouldn't it if that's the way you're trending? You see what we're getting at? There's not something outside of you that is deciding that you've had enough goodness, or that you don't deserve any goodness, or that you shouldn't get any financial well-being. There is no one outside of you in your human perspective who is causing the attraction to you. It's all you.